listener production.
Hey there, I'm Bension Siebert, and this is your afternoon briefing. From disgraced cyclist Lance Armstrong to Russia systematically doping its Olympic athletes to the Essendon Football Club's supplements program, there has been no shortage of drug cheating scandals in the world of sport. Athletes and teams and whole countries spend huge amounts of money scientifically perfecting athletes' equipment and nutrition and their psychology, but we draw the line at certain performance-enhancing drugs. Those caught using them are shamed and often stripped of their titles and seen as a disgrace in the sporting world. Organisations like the World Anti-Doping Authority say banning these drugs is not just about ethics and integrity, it's about protecting athletes' health, because some of these substances pose really serious physical risks. But Aron D'Souza wants us to rethink the whole thing, and for drugged athletes to be allowed to compete in an enhanced games, to push the boundaries of what human bodies are capable of without restriction later this year. He insists that the enhanced games will protect athletes' safety, despite strong international evidence that anabolic steroids and some other performance-enhancing drugs are dangerous to your health. He joined me to explain his rationale and how the games will work. Aron, well, thanks so much for joining us on the briefing.
Thank you for having me on your show.
So James Magnussen came out and said that he would be willing to be part of the enhanced games. Why do you think he was the first prominent athlete to publicly say so?
I think the reason he's committed is because he's an extraordinarily intelligent individual. In his post-sporting life, he's been a media personality on numerous reality TV shows. He has a show on Sen Radio. He writes for the Herald Sun. He's not just an athlete. He actually really understands public emotions and communication. He actually gamed us, right? He went on to national radio and said that he would compete if there was $1 million prize for the 50 free. We had never announced that. And so the fact that he convinced us to put the $1 million up made it pretty straightforward.
What have athletes that you've spoken to about potentially coming out told you about why they haven't come out?
Most of them are concerned about their sports federation. They're concerned about their reputation. But actually, the vast majority are just preparing for the Paris Olympics. They're getting ready to go and compete, try their best at Paris, and then come join us on August the 10th, the day the Paris Olympics finish. And, that was our original plan, is to really start recruiting athletes after the Paris Olympics, because athletes are focused right now. And to be honest, our goal is to break world records in track and field and swimming in particular. And you don't have to be, the modern day Usain Bolt. You could be the number 3, the number 4 guy in that 100-meter race, have the opportunity to use performance enhancements and get to that world record level.
Let's turn to the health of the athletes who will be competing in the enhanced games. You told the ABC that anabolic steroids can be safer than alcohol, but they do come with significant health risks. The UK's National Health Service lists heart attack, stroke, aggression, mood swings, paranoia, hallucinations. What responsibility do you have for maintaining the health of athletes who may decide to take anabolic steroids at the games?
So, let's be very clear. The drug testing system is not about safety. It's about fairness, to ensure that people like Lance Armstrong can't use the super steroids when regular athletes don't have access to them. It's to create a fair and level playing field in natural sports. And so we are not creating a free-for-all. We're creating a safety system rather than a fairness system. And that safety system involves pre-competition clinical checks supervised by leading clinicians and scientists, including professors from Oxford, Cambridge, King's College London, etc., who have designed a rigorous pre-competition, pre-screening protocol that involves blood tests, MRIs, echocardiograms, and other forms of imaging to ensure that our athletes are safe and healthy to compete.
But you're not expecting athletes to try to enhance their performance by getting drunk ahead of their events. It's likely that they're going to be taking anabolic steroids, and there are a great deal of scientific research to back
in fact,
that anabolic steroids are risky to your health. Isn't that true?
There is intrinsic risk to all human action, right? So pole vaulting is a very dangerous sport, but it's allowed in the Olympics.
In particular,
MotoGP is an extraordinarily dangerous sport. And we believe that individuals with free and informed consent, adults, should be able to do to their body what they wish. And so, Benson, if you don't want to take risk with your own life, you're welcome to be perfectly safe.
So at what stage of the process do the health checks happen? Would it be a few weeks before the games, for example?
It's going to occur at multiple steps throughout the qualification process. So, of course, there are people who are going to be trying to qualify for the games who we don't even know who they are, right? They're going to be training and they haven't even registered yet. So it would be impossible for us to do any type of screening for them. However, we will be publishing a peer-reviewed scientific protocol so that they can take that to their doctor and openly and honestly discuss the risks and the challenges of whatever performance therapy regime they're on. And you've listed the number of risk areas listed by the National Health Service, but look up aspirin, right? There'll be a 2-page long disclosure about the risk associated with aspirin. There are risks with all human action. There's risk with all pharmacological interventions. And the way to manage that risk is clinical supervision. And that's what we always say. We're taking steroids out of the garage and into the doctor's office. And that is a much, much safer framework to be operating in.
But do you think that your athletes are going to be safer than the ones at the Olympics?
Absolutely. The drug testing actually creates a situation whereby athletes have to take suboptimal compounds. They have to take compounds that metabolize very quickly so that they can evade the drug testing. And so by taking things out into the open and eliminating drug testing actually significantly reduces risk.
Anabolic steroids aren't the only substances that athletes might use to enhance their performance. How would you manage the legal risk of potentially illicit substances at the games or before the games?
What is a banned substance is not illegal. That is the very smart propaganda of the International Olympic Committee. So if you walk into a GNC at any shopping mall, 25% of the goods on the shelf there will get you banned from Olympic competition, according to the Olympics' own research. The vast majority of other non-retail performance enhancements are actually available under clinical supervision. They're available under prescription.
What message does it send to kids who are inspired by athletes, especially at the Olympics, that they need or should take enhancements in order to be great athletes?
It sends a similar message as Formula One. And so in Formula One, you might say, oh, this encourages young people, particularly young men, to drive recklessly and fast on the roads. That's in fact not true. Formula One encourages young people to respect the craft of motorsport, to practice, and to believe in engineering. And actually, Formula One inspires our young people into engineering careers, particularly here in the United Kingdom, where I'm at. And so we hope in the same way the Enhanced Games encourages our young people to believe in science and to believe in medicine.
One of the known side effects of anabolic steroids is increased aggression. What will you do to make sure that athletes are safe from other athletes at the Enhanced Games? You can't test for
that's largely
increased aggression in a cardiac scan.
No, so that's largely an urban myth that has been perpetuated by the research, which is largely funded by the World Anti-Doping Authority.
So, the National Health Service in the UK.
No. And I would encourage your readers to read the 2012 Lancet article by Professor David Nutt, which lists the risk of various taboo compounds. And it has a wonderful graph. And on the left-hand side is the highest risk substances. And number one is alcohol. In terms of the total societal risk, in terms of health, economics, personal and externalized risk, alcohol is the most dangerous substance that was surveyed. And the least dangerous substance was actually magic mushrooms. And number two was anabolic steroids. So if you want to talk about science, let's talk about science and data.
Okay. Well, your website cites Kaneyama et al. 2009 to back the claim that anabolic steroids are actually positive for your health. Jen Kaneyama of Harvard Medical School published a study in 2009 called Anabolic Androgenic Steroid Dependence, an Emerging Disorder. Is that the study you're citing there?
I would have to review the literature. I don't write the entire website myself, so I can't recall it from my absolute memory here. The survey that I'm pointing to is the 2012 Lancet survey by David Nutt of total clinical risk of recreational and performance drugs.
But of course, you don't...
Right. It's hard to have this conversation. I have this conversation at dinner with people all the time, right? And they're there drinking a glass of wine saying, oh no, steroids are unsafe, right? No. Alcohol, cannabis, two very legal substances. Cannabis recently legalized in many jurisdictions. By all the clinical evidence, is significantly more unsafe than anabolic steroids.
Can we talk about the commercial element of this? You said that you want athletes to be reimbursed appropriately for competing. Will it be difficult to find sponsors for this game?
No. Are you kidding me? I have the biggest sponsors in the world chasing me down. I don't have enough time to meet with them at the moment. Why is that? Is because we present a vision of technology and a vision of the future, a new kind of brand activation. I think the Olympics are having a very time finding sponsors because it's so expensive, right? Who wants to sponsor the old, slow Olympics? It's the same thing every 4 years, costs hundreds and hundreds of millions of dollars, and it produces no tangible benefit. Right, we're producing a low-cost, high-impact games, and sponsors are lining up for this. It's actually really gratifying. I don't need to go out and look for sponsors. They cold email me. CEOs are cold emailing me every day saying, how can we get involved in this really exciting project that is redefining humanity?
Okay, well, thanks so much for your time.
Great, wonderful. Thank you for having me on the show.
Aron D'Souza there. And that's all we have time for in this episode of The Briefing. The Morning Briefing team will be back in your feed at 6 a.m. tomorrow. I'm Bension Siebert. Thanks for listening.